Welcome to Upfront. I'm Mary Ruth Harris. Joining us today is a very special guest, Hans Peter Meyer, and he is going to talk to us about all things entrepreneur. And we're going to begin with you. So can you tell us exactly how you came to be in the position you're in? It's quite a journey.
Yeah, well, and it starts, I mean, I grew up, I was born in the Comox Valley. I grew up at Miracle Beach. I tell people, like, when I grew up, it seemed like everybody was connected to forestry or fishing. I think we had a good standard of living. I certainly was part of the forest industry when I was young. I went away to university, went to SFU for a few years, came back, and by that time things had started to shift. I developed a project with North Island College and with SFU. It was a community economic development project. We were based in the Comox Valley, but we did a lot of work in Campbell River. I had an accident in '98 that changed things for me. When I re-emerged, I was a writer and a photographer, got into social media marketing, and fast forward to 2014, and I'm covering Vancouver Startup Week, which is, at that time, 2014, I think there were 80 plus events in 7 days. It was a crazy week and super fun. And it was exciting for me. I was just hearing stories and meeting people, entrepreneurs, inventors basically, who were, any kind of problem became an opportunity to create a business. And they were, I guess the biggest thing for me was that they were so collaborative. It was this feeling of like, we're all in this together, let's build something.
Okay.
And one of the people I interviewed was Ian Mackay, Vancouver's Economic Development Commissioner.
Oh.
And he said, what you're seeing here in Vancouver is the emergence of a talent economy. And that was like, all of a sudden things fell into place. I've watched talent come to our region since I was a kid, and it's been happening since way before that. You know, people who come to the Comox Valley or Campbell River not for a job, but because it's a beautiful place to live, and then they try to figure it out afterwards.
Right.
And so when he said talent economy, and when I went back home, I was like, wow, like what? I want to do something around this idea.
So that was a major aha moment for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And it also, it was like some leverage for me because I was frustrated with, there's a lot of different ways of doing economic development. I had run a community economic development project in the '90s, which was focused on grassroots education. Well, not just grassroots, but educating grassroots people, neighborhood organizations, local government, bureaucrats, business people. And the idea was how can we work together to solve problems? And at that point in the '90s, the problems were land use and sprawl, which were, and population growth. Like Comox Valley particularly was just, people were struggling to deal with the kind of growth that we were looking at.
Okay.
So that was back then. So here I am, like 15, 20 years later, and I'm frustrated with what I'm seeing is an inability to connect with the kind of grassroots energy that our communities have.
Right.
And when Ian talked about this talent economy, it was like, okay, I just need to do something.
Right.
And one of the first things I did was I borrowed from my friends who had this thing called We Are YVR, which was a way of branding their tech talent community. And so I started this hashtag WeAreYQQ.
Oh, that was the birth of that.
So it was like I borrowed it from them, and I just put it out there like anybody who wants to use this, if you're in the YQQ Comox Valley region and you're doing cool stuff, or if you see cool stuff, use this hashtag. I will find it on Twitter or on Instagram or Facebook, and I will try to help promote it. Like just because I wanted to see things happen. So I look at that as our talent tag. So, the last time I looked at Instagram, there were, I think, 10,000 or 11,000 posts using hashtag WeAreYQQ.
Wow.
I don't know most of those people. Like, I know a bunch of them, but lots of them I don't know. They're just people doing
That's
cool
incredible.
stuff. And some of it's like really low level, you know. It's like lots of photographers, but people who are doing carving stuff, people who are doing building houses, like all kinds of people who are using this as a way of branding their talent.
Right.
So from that point of view, I think it's been really successful.
Very.
The next thing I did was, I thought I wanted to do I wanted to bring some speakers into town. I wanted to actually like stir up some stuff. There's a great book called Startup Communities by Brad Feld.
Okay.
So a lot of the things that we've done with Lift are inspired by the example of other communities, and particularly.
Okay, hold that thought. So how did you go from We Are YQQ? Where did Lift come in? Like what was the crossroad that you created that next level?
So hashtag We Are YQQ was a tag that anybody could use.
Okay.
Right? We did have a conversation with the airport, and the airports asked us to kindly change our name, because at that point we were called the We Are YQQ Project. And the timing was actually good, because this is something this is my business. I have a passion about making this happen in my region, because I want to see entrepreneurial stuff happen here. But I also am looking at this, if we do this well, if we create a kit or a formula, then other regions or other communities can use it as well.
Correct.
So everything that we're doing is an experiment.
Okay.
And right now, you know, we've tried some things, and they're no longer part of the package, and we're doing, you know, a set number of things, and we're trying some new things. But so we had this problem of like, okay, well, if we're not going to call ourselves the We Are YQQ Project, then what are we going to call ourselves? So a number of us got together and just brainstormed words. I said, I want to just throw out the words about how you experience what we're doing, because our events are really special.
Okay.
Definitely, you know, mixing happens, and networking happens, and definitely business development happens. You know, we really focus on growing business. But I said, I don't want it to ever feel like your dad's networking event. You know, like I don't know about you, but I find networking, like this traditional networking, really hard.
Yes.
You know, if you're really good at it, then it's great. But most people I talk to find it really awkward. So I say to my crew, I say, we don't do networking events. We do parties. We do workshops where people work.
Okay.
The networking happens. People do exchange cards. They get to know each other, but it's in a different kind of context.
Exactly.
And it feels more natural.
And probably more organic too. Like
Yeah.
just working in little tables and groups, and then hearing a speaker and then discussing what the speaker, yeah. So, okay.
Well, and then the games that happen at our parties are definitely mixers, but they don't feel like you're.
It doesn't feel forced.
No,
And it doesn't feel.
you're wanting to do this thing because there's some great prizes. I mean, we have prizes from Gladstone, you know, Gladstone Brewing, Atlas Cafe, the Waverly Hotel. Pretty much every business that's a member contributes some kind of prizes. So we have thousands of dollars worth of prizes, great food, great drink experiences. And so when people do these mixer games, it's because they want to win something.
Okay. So, so how did you come up with the name Lift?
Yeah. So we had this brainstorming thing, and I asked the people who were there, like, so give me words that describe how it feels. So we had this flip chart full of great words.
Yeah.
And then somebody said, lift. I was like, okay, that's good. You know, like we had a bunch of crazy words that we weren't going to use. And then so after the fact, went, okay, I like lift, and everybody else liked lift. So what could that mean? Well, it was a good fit. So I said, well, lift stands for leading, inspiring, and fueling talent. So
that's fabulous.
the acronym came after the word, but I thought it was a good fit.
That is really fabulous.
Because that's a lot of what I see us doing, you know, like we're leading by bringing resources in, by putting people into situations where they have to try new things like pitching.
Yeah.
They have to prepare for, you know, that kind of an environment. We're inspirational because we bring new ideas in.
Yes.
Whether that's through speakers or all the online stuff we do. And I need to emphasize that, you know, lots of cool stuff happens in our events,
Okay.
but lots happens online.
Right.
So when you're a Lift member, you get access to a bunch of resources that aren't just at the events.
All right.
Because we could never, you know, I mean, oops,
Okay.
time for me to turn the phone off. Sorry, folks.
The life of an entrepreneur
Well, it's
never
funny
stops.
because what I say to people often at our meetings is, I want you to pull this thing out. I want you to turn the sound off, but I want you to use it. I want you to take photographs to post to Twitter, to Facebook, and Instagram.
Yes.
Because telling the stories of our entrepreneurs, and this is not my idea, it was, I had heard a speaker talk about this. He said, Canadians, we're not very good about not only celebrating ourselves, but celebrating each other.
Got that right.
So your phone is one of the easiest ways for you to support local business and support your friends who are in business.
Right.
So I encourage people to use that. Anyway, we're off topic. So we got this name.
And you know, it's funny because when you were talking about Lift, okay, so what immediately came to my mind, because I've been in the Comox Valley since 2009, and you're talking about entrepreneurs, in my mind, it was the meaning of the word lift. You're lifting them up to a new level of experience. You're lifting them up to a new level of business entrepreneurialism, a new level of quality, lifting up to a new experience. And that's where my mind went. So it works both ways.
Well, that's interesting because my daughter, who's I think a very talented designer, she does all of our stuff here. When she came up with the Lift logo, she had there's these peaks here, right?
Yes.
And there's a little kind of iconic glacier thing there. And she said these peaks are actually, they're the talent lifting up this thing.
Yes.
But that was all after, like I was like, oh, that's cool. Like I never even saw that, you know. Like, I don't know, there's all kinds of stuff like that. But certainly lift was a word that people felt. They experienced excitement, a positive feeling. You come to one of our workshops or one of our parties and you get energy.
Okay.
You know? And
now, so as people are doing all of the parties and all of the interactions, is everybody still using hashtag YQQ, we are YQQ, and hashtag Lift? Like, are you using both?
There's no hashtag Lift.
There's no hashtag Lift, okay.
Hashtag We Are YQQ is a talent tag for anybody to use.
Okay.
I did a presentation in Campbell River about a year ago, and I suggested that Campbell River people use We Are YBL.
Yep.
The reason we use the airport indicators is because there's only one YQQ in the world.
Right, exactly.
There are many CVs, like a lot of people locally use CV as a short form for Comox Valley. Cowichan Valley, Central Virginia, Curriculum Vitae, like it means nothing as soon as you put that out there on the internet, CV.
Okay.
But YQQ brings everything to the Comox Valley. YBL brings it to Campbell River.
Right.
I've just started to put out there the We Are Van Isle as a talent tag for the island.
Yeah.
Because I think, so to back up, you know, like social media marketing is it's really important part of what we do.
Yes.
And so creating these tags is actually a tool that like anybody can use them.
Right.
But they're a way of aggregating stuff. So if somebody happens upon it and they click on that, all the content around, for example, We Are YQQ, everybody, like on Instagram, you'll see all 10,000 or 11,000, whatever they are.
Awesome.
Campbell River, the number, you know, it's just early days, so it's less than 1,000 now, but
it's getting there.
People are using it.
Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take a very short break, and when we come back, we're going to dig in a little bit deeper into the Lift parties, I guess, and what's coming up. You're watching Up Front. I'm Mary Ruth Harris. Our guest today is Hans Peter Meyer. We will be right back. Welcome back to Up Front. I'm Mary Ruth Harris. Our guest today is Hans Peter Meyer. Now, Hans, the Lift parties that you have, do you want to give us an overview of what's coming up?
Right. So like I said, we experimented with many things. We're down to 5 special events, parties that we do every year. So in
Okay.
September we have a pitch fest where this year we have 7 entrepreneurs, 3 judges and a keynote, a number of prizes, and a party attached to that. This year on November 24th, we'll have our annual festive cheer party, which is a way to people who are working as solopreneurs or small businesses where they don't have a lot of staff might want to be part of a larger party. So we're inviting them to be part of that. We'll have lots of games, lots of prizes. We'll have a live auction. And it's also a fundraiser. So this year we're raising money again for Everybody Deserves a Smile, which is a Comox Valley-based nonprofit that's working on connecting kids and homeless people all over the island.
And that's in the Comox Valley. I believe it's the kids at Puntledge Park Elementary that put together the packages. And they're almost like a little gift bag that then get distributed to all of the homeless.
Yeah, and I think it's more than Puntledge Park. I think it's
spreading.
a number of schools. Yeah, I think last year they had 800 gift packages that they gave out. Yeah.
And then, so after November?
So then this year it'll be, or in 2018, I think it'll be February 1st.
Okay.
We'll have our annual winter party. Last year we had a speaker through Startup Canada. This year we'll probably do some kind of a panel. But again, we'll have a party attached to that. The idea is like it's the dead of winter. It's time to get together and have some fun.
Okay.
March 31st, we'll have our second financial marketplace event, which this year I think we're going to focus on financial literacy. Lots of us, myself included, don't know enough about the financial side of running our businesses. And then in end of May, early June, we have had an event that we do with CV Collective magazine called Community Voices.
Yes.
It's been part of the Elevate the Arts Festival. That event focuses on creatives. So we have a number of creatives talking about one of my favorite themes, which is how are you working bigger?
Right.
Lots of people, like I've mentioned in other contexts, we create a cottage business to sort of service our local community or something, but what can we do to tweak that to service the island or BC or the world?
Right.
So that's my challenge for entrepreneurs always is like, how can you take what you're doing so that it gets big enough so that you can not only sustain yourself, but employ some young people at a reasonable wage, which goes back to why I started this. We lost a lot of our forest and fishing industry. We really haven't replaced that. The example of some other other communities that have really embraced the startup culture is that if you pour gasoline on entrepreneurial fires, lots of interesting things happen.
Now, during the break you were mentioning Biz on Deck. What is Biz on Deck?
So I said, in 2015 we launched with some speakers. Then that turned into some workshops, and one of those workshops morphed into what we call our Biz on Deck, or Businesses on Deck.
Okay.
So that's kind of it's almost like the heart of what we do. It's a really great experience. It's something that I really want to import to other communities. So I'd love to talk to you about it if you're in another community. If you're in the Comox Valley, you should definitely check one out. 2 businesses take turns. They get 3 minutes to pitch, so they have, my business is building widgets. And then they have to make an ask. I need help with finding a place to build the widgets, or I need help getting to my target market, which is, people who are 45 plus and make $60,000 a year, or something like that.
Right.
The more specific the ask, the better. Then they get feedback for 42 minutes from a room full of entrepreneurs. So there's typically between 15 and 25. Lately, there have been 20 plus all the time.
Wow.
Often they're sold out. The people who are there have paid a little bit of money to be there. They're there because they want to help other people grow their business. The idea is that if your business is doing well, and if your business is doing well, my business is probably going to benefit from that.
Right.
How can we work together? And where there is competition, there's often several people in marketing in the room. My policy is it comes down to personalities,
Right.
You may not like how I do marketing, but you'll like how Leaf does it or how Kelsey does it.
Right.
And that's good. There's lots of talent around here. We just need to grow stuff.
Okay.
So as soon as that, those 45 minutes are up, we take a break and then we do it again. Networking happens. There is some space for traditional exchange of cards and stuff, but mostly what happens there is you get to see how somebody thinks. You get to see how I think about or how I would approach, your ask. Maybe you want help marketing and I'll have some ideas, and like I said, Leaf would have some, or Laura or Kelsey or somebody, they'll all have different ideas, and you'll
Right.
find where that fit is. And to me, that's much more interesting kind of networking than just
Absolutely.
handing a card.
Yeah, that's
So-
very interesting.
So Biz on Decks are super focused on growing business, and they
Okay.
don't just happen in that physical space.
Right.
We also use some team software so that people who aren't even there can make comments and ask questions and provide advice. So mentorship and advice
okay.
are
Great.
a big part of this, and we're going to be building more on that, but
Okay.
it starts with a Biz on Deck.
So with the Biz on Deck, what you just said, that you don't have to physically be in the room to participate. So for the next Biz on Deck, you could potentially have people from Campbell River, from Powell River, from other areas outside of.
We don't have real-time virtual participation yet.
Oh, okay.
We have like this team software is a place that you could go and just add your comments and whatever separate from the live event. So,
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're not quite there yet.
Okay.
And I'm looking for how we do that.
Right.
One of the things is that the group at 25 is probably the most voices we can actually handle in one of those kind of events.
Right.
Before it gets unwieldy.
Okay.
15 to 20 is really comfortable.
Okay.
I'm not sure how we're going to take that to the next step, or if we
Okay.
maybe we create a whole virtual space that only happens virtually. I don't know.
Right.
We'll see.
So how are you going about right now reaching out to the other communities like Campbell River and Powell River? How are you targeting or trying to get at those entrepreneurs to let them know there's help out there like what you're offering?
Right. Well, we've just, social media is a huge part of what we do, and it isn't just
Okay.
about marketing ourselves. It's about marketing our the members.
Right.
And the stories that are local and regional. So other people are, I use advertising and stuff to get into those communities so people out there see it. And then the next step, and I'm doing this with Campbell River now, is on a monthly basis, I'm hosting what I call Lift Power Lunches. They're basically
Okay.
informal get-togethers. I mean, they're on they're on our schedule.
Okay.
You can find them, and I do email, and I do invite people and stuff. But people just show up. There might be 2 people, there might be 8 people.
Right.
It's a relatively small group. I just run through the kind of things that we're doing, and I get feedback.
Right. Okay.
And I'm always inviting people to come to our events.
Right.
Right now, my capacity is to host events in the Comox Valley.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hoping to grow that. I had an interesting conversation today with somebody in Campbell River. Last week I had a conversation with the mayor of Tofino. I would love to talk to somebody in Powell River. I'd love to present to Rotary and young professional groups about what we're doing. This is really grassroots. Like it's got to be driven by people's interest in growing their own businesses. So we work with whoever shows up, and that really every event is a little bit different.
And what about like NIC or VIU, like North Island College or Vancouver Island University? Is there a bridge there yet
Well, they're
for the business students themselves?
I've connected with business students at North Island College. I'm actually working with a couple of them. With one, I'm working on a software project
Great.
for Lift, and with the other, she actually did a class project on marketing and used Lift as an example,
Oh,
and then
cool.
cooked up this great project, which I then hired her to implement.
Okay.
So we get some contact with students that way. I haven't talked to VIU because we haven't really engaged south of Qualicum at all. Although
Okay.
we have a member in Nanaimo, but they do business up here, so that's where the
okay.
connection is there.
Great.
But it would be great to connect with Nanaimo as well.
So where do you see this 2 years from now?
2 years from now, Lift Comox Valley chapter is servicing its membership well and has some presence in Campbell River, Qualicum, and Paul River. And we started a chapter in Tofino, Ucluelet,
Okay.
Port Alberni maybe, and that there's interest from Quesnel or Medicine Hat.
Right.
I would like I said earlier, this is an experiment, but my goal is to create a package or a framework that other communities can use and that we can support each other.
Right.
So that I mean, some of this stuff, I don't know if you know about Startup Canada, they're doing a great job of kind of a parallel track. What I'm trying to do is create a package that actually gets the stuff happening.
Right. Right. Is there crossover with government, or is this really a grassroots initiative?
I see it as very much a grassroots initiative.
Okay.
I think in the best of all possible worlds, it's the kind of thing where government might say, we want to see something happen in our community, and we will seed this by having, like a year's funding to get a bunch of workshops and events happening.
Okay.
But it really needs to be driven by
The entrepreneurs.
The entrepreneurs. you know.
Okay.
So if after a year or two of trying to make something happen and there just is no traction,
Yep.
then it's best to leave it alone.
Okay. Well, Hans, thank you so very much for joining us today. This has been very informative and insightful, and I'm sure that anybody watching is going to come away with some new ideas. If they didn't already know about you, it's probably sparking like, oh, I'm going to take advantage. I'm going to email that man. So how can people get in touch with you?
Okay, so email's a great way. So simple liftstartups@gmail.com is the easiest way. You can find us online at lift.group.
Okay.
You can find us on Twitter at @liftstartups, and the same on Facebook @liftstartups, and the same on Instagram @liftstartups.
All right.
So
excellent.
Email, website, Facebook, Instagram,
They'll find you.
Twitter. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so very much. This has been great.
Thank you. Yeah.
All right. You have been watching Up Front. I'm Mary Ruth Harris. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you again soon.